Hello, all. I'm Edmund,
And I'm Heather.
and this is All Positive Reviews. Well, here we are,
Oh,
the end.
the very end of Game of Thrones.
And while a lot of people found, disappointment to be had, we actually found a number of positive, closure-filled things to enjoy in this episode.
Yes.
I'll just start by saying I thought it was a pretty well done finale.
I think it was a great finale. And, we've had a lot of really bad finales, so I thought it was really great. And I think the whole series is great. Yeah.
Starting with the fallout from last week's episode, which was affected even in the main titles.
Yes.
Because you saw King's Landing in pieces. I loved how they had tiles separated on the stairs, like they'd been blown out or crumbled. And then you had Tyrion just going through the devastation, and it's so effective.
Yeah.
But you definitely feel for him. You feel that just disappointment. Like, that's where the disappointment is in the episode. It's Tyrion's disappointment,
Yeah.
Dany. And it's palpable.
Yeah.
That moment when he quits.
Oh, it's such a great moment. I love the fact that everything just stops for that second and
Yeah.
makes me sad, but it's good. It's a great moment.
Tyrion is kind of the mouthpiece for the logic of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
For a lot of it. And this episode very much satisfied me as a Tyrion fan.
Oh, yeah.
And starting with that moment of him quitting. Although another person walking through the devastation we had is Arya, who I love how she Batmans right by Jon.
Yeah.
Giving such anti-Batman advice of, you should probably kill her. It might be the best for the realm.
Yeah.
Which leads me to one of my favorite parts. When Tyrion did go up to Dany, they had that shot.
Oh no, when Dany walks up, yeah. I love that moment, especially because from season 1 you hear certain people say stuff like her brother is always like, I am the dragon. Don't wake the dragon and all this stuff, and then when she when they burn him or the Golden Crown later on.
Crownful
and
king.
she's like, he was no dragon. And then in that moment, it looks like her wings come out and she takes that full. Nice.
Yes, and actually Drogon was one of my favorite parts of the episode, but we'll get to him in a moment.
Okay.
Because a lot of the episode, especially for me, it seems to hinge on the Tyrion and Jon relationship. And I love how at separate points in this episode, you have where one of them is in jail and the other one is visiting the other. And it echoes back to the fact that the first real relationship that either of them forged in the pilot that they didn't already have was each other. And I love that in that moment where Tyrion quits, it's a very Jon Snow move to do so honestly and in the open, regardless of the circumstances, because that's what honor demands.
Right.
And he tries to convince Jon to let his honor go.
Right.
And their discussion is it's one of the reasons Game of Thrones is so good, is the conversations.
Yeah.
Let's play with the morality of this, predicament, and, let's wade in the gray waters of this.
Yeah.
You are the shield that guards the realms of men. You've always tried to do the right thing, no matter the cost. You've tried to protect people. Who is the greatest threat to the people now? It's a terrible thing I'm asking. It's also the right thing.
It leads to a pretty fittingly tragic moment.
Yeah. I thought it was a really beautiful moment, though. It's really well done. No matter how you want to see it, it's a great scene. I don't know. I really love it, so.
Yeah, starting with Jon, because, spoilers, Jon kills Dany.
Don't watch this if you haven't seen the episode.
Jon walking up there, and I didn't realize it was snow at first. I thought it was all the ash.
In the trailers, it looked like ash.
Mm-hmm.
But no, when I saw it on the episode, I could tell it was snow.
I love that moment that Jon and Drogon have.
Yeah.
Because you definitely get the sense throughout this whole show of what Tyrion says, that dragons are considered smarter than humans.
Very smart.
And, rewatch the scene where Tyrion meets the dragons in season 6 to see what I'm talking about. But in this episode in particular, it really felt like Drogon was a full active character there too.
Yes.
Because, he seemed to know
something was up.
Yes, but he knew to sort of let Jon go. Like, he was almost resigned to do it. And then when Jon actually does it, which is a very well done scene because you have Dany's vision coming true.
Yep.
In that she gets to walk through the throne room, she gets to touch the Iron Throne, but she doesn't actually get to sit in it.
She doesn't even touch it in her vision.
That's true, actually.
But she almost gets there. But this time she gets to touch it and then it's over, which is so sad, but the way it had to be.
And it's funny because actually a friend of ours mentioned this to me, and I think of it in a positive, where it does remind me of Star Wars at the end of Anakin's like tragic downfall.
Right.
And you have these characters just trying their hardest to pull him back from the brink.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
No.
And you definitely get that feel from here. Jon doesn't want to do it. And she is just so resigned to it. And not even resigned. She is so fully committed to it.
And she's so happy.
Yep.
It's so sad because she's so happy and adorable, and you almost like feel for her for a second until she's like,
they don't get to choose.
Yes. And then you're like, oh yeah, you're the villain of this part.
Oh, okay.
When Jon does it is great. The best thing about it, though, is Drogon's reaction.
Yes.
Because when Drogon comes in, you do think for a minute there, uh-oh, is he going to roast Jon? But then you remember that Drogon has been an active, intelligent part of this. And even though he's not going to disobey his mom necessarily, we don't know how he felt about destroying King's Landing or any other, number of the things they had to do. He did it without hesitation, but we don't know how he felt. So that moment when he tries to, when he's like Simba with Mufasa trying to wake her up, and he just doesn't know.
That was really sad.
Like, he wants to be angry at Jon.
Yeah.
And he is. But, Jon is also now the last Targaryen left.
Yeah.
And she loved Jon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some part of him knew that the cause of this was that fucking chair.
Yeah.
And so, to me, the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful shot, almost, in the whole season has been Drogon destroying the Iron Throne.
Yes.
Watching that thing melt, like, I've seen a lot of lava CG effects and everything. That looked so real.
It looked really good. It was very, I don't know, it was very beautiful. And you were hoping, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe everybody wasn't. I was hoping the Iron Throne would be gone by the end.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of hoping that's
too.
how it would go down. So it was nice to see it happen, and I thought they did it very well.
There's a lot of things in that vein that definitely fulfilled my expectations. Speaking of that, because we mentioned the vision that Dany had, it even gets carried out at the end, because in her vision, she turns away from the Iron Throne, goes into the snow, which is supposed to represent death, and Drogon flies her out into the snow.
Yeah.
So that literally happens. And then there's a flash forward.
Yeah. Then it goes forward a bit.
And, not fun circumstances for certain people, but it does allow for us to finally see where some of these people that were credited to appear in Season 8 would appear.
I know, I kept wondering, where is he?
Where is Edmure Tully?
Yeah.
Where is Robin Arryn? I've been wondering where those assholes were. Although, Robin Arryn is the new Neville Longbottom.
I've heard. I've seen it all over Facebook.
And after all the madness and the heel turns and the death, it was nice to see a douchey Edmure Tully.
I like to think my experience has led to some small skill in statecraft and an understanding.
Please sit.
It was just fun to be like, yeah, dude, you made it.
Yeah.
You know what? Good for you, man. You were a douche, but the worst thing he ever did was be like, oh, I hope I don't get like a fat wife, like, or an ugly wife. Like, The worst that he did was body shaming, so that would just put him...
It's not the best thing in the world, but in that place, you know.
That's like... That's being a patron saint compared to the sins of that world. But you get all these characters together in a council. Very, very fitting, since the last time we were in that arena was the big council in season 7. But except before, when we were dealing with the White Walkers, now we're dealing with the ultimate question, which is who's on the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
And Tyrion gets to speechify.
One last time we get to hear Tyrion.
And he sums it up, and it reminds me a lot of Dumbledore's speech to Harry about writing and memory and stuff in Deathly Hallows Part 2 at the train station, where he talks about the importance of stories and about how stories unite people.
Yeah.
And while it definitely surprised me that he ultimately turned it towards, you know, let's make Bran the king.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the world more powerful than a good story. Nothing can stop it. No enemy can defeat it. And who has a better story than Bran the Broken?
The way he explained it, it actually made a good amount of sense to me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, yeah, he is the keeper of all the stories, and actually, while we cannot take away the stories of our other main characters, they've gone through some amazing, heartbreaking, crazy stuff. But, you know, in terms of falling the farthest only to rise up the highest, Bran does have the best story. One of the main points of Game of Thrones is that everything had to happen as it did, and everybody had to do what they had to do. You know, for Bran, I mean, without him, we would not recognize the threat to its fullest extent at all. You know, we would not have been prepared for the long night.
Well, and not only that, but he literally has all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got his own story, and then he's got everyone else's story, too.
Yep.
So he's got all the stories.
And, you know, despite despite Sansa throwing out certain allegations as to his virility, I definitely, you know, I love the direction that they went of, like, you know, let's abandon the houses and the dynasties and the family lines. That's what's gotten us in trouble in the first... All of this started over a family line being questioned.
Right, and the thing about it is I think he had already had that planned. Because if you look back to, like, previous episodes, he's talking to Daenerys, and he's like, well, how do we choose after you? And she gets really mad at him, because she's like, what, are you planning for my death? Which, you know, that's not very nice. However, I think he had already started working on it, because when she wanted to rule, and he's her hand, and he's like, oh, you can't have kids. Okay, how do I figure this out? So I think he had already kind of started that in his head, you know, and then he thought that she wouldn't go crazy.
Yeah.
And that he would bring this up to her, and so he already had things laid out.
Yes.
In a way that, you know, so then he just, that's why it came off so easily to him there. He was just like, this is perfect. This is my moment. I was going to do this for her, but she's not here.
And I like that they ultimately go with it, and in effect, what ends up happening is that, yes, Bran is the king.
Yeah.
And Bran, you know, he does work out the compromise to cool down the Unsullied and allow them to go off to Noth and basically be their bouncers for all eternity.
Yeah. And hopefully the butterflies are safe.
Yeah, well, I think it's the TV show I think, you know, it's...
Yeah, hopefully it's TV show butterflies.
If they don't mention it, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. Plenty of things happen off screen. You know, Bran is the king. Bran has the authority, but as you see, especially in the amazing small council scene, it's really King Tyrion. It's actually King Tyrion, because they've always made a point to say in the show that the hand of the king is the actual position that rules the kingdom.
Right.
You know, the king eats and the hand, you know, cleans up the shit. And Tyrion has had, you know, multiple times doing this. Now, and he's... Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. But Tyrion, he, you know, has all this experience with it. He was really good at it.
No, he's great.
And now he gets to do it in a capacity where, yeah, he does have to answer to someone, sure, but a king should.
Right.
And I love that they go down that route. I mean, granted, they laugh off democracy.
Oh, that was hilarious.
It's fucking hilarious.
We represent all the great houses, but whomever we choose, they won't just rule over lords and ladies. Maybe the decision about what's best for everyone should be left to, well, everyone.
Maybe we should give the dogs a vote as well.
But Tyrion gets to be the ruler of Westeros, and he has like his people around him. Like it is the best small council.
Oh gosh, yes.
The only thing that would have made it better is if R.I.P. Varys, if Varys had made it, because Varys was the one who was always about the people. Every one of his actions was true to Varys through to the end of the show.
Yes.
And he was ultimately right. So, but you get Sir Bronn of the fucking Blackwater.
And he got his castle.
He got his castle.
Yeah.
And, the debt was paid. And, even though they were trying to play him up like he was going to make some kind of heel turn, like, he ultimately stayed true to his word with Tyrion Lannister of, like, he got offered to kill him, but he went to him first. He was like, Are you going to double the offer? Tyrion's like, yeah. Bran probably saw that and was like, well, you have to be hand to the king or Bronn's going to fucking kill you. Of course, Davos is ships.
Yes.
Who better? Sam as the Archmaester who gets to deliver the J.R.R. Tolkien ending to Tyrion.
Of course. One
of many J.R.R. Tolkien endings in this episode because it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because that was his big inspiration for writing is doing, kind of flipped version of Lord of the Rings, and you get that. But in a minute. But the small council scene is great.
Yeah.
You get like a nice tease of like, okay, Bran's probably going to find Drogon, and they're doing the rebuilding of the city, and yay, Brienne and Podrick are the Kingsguard. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, and also Brienne writing for Jaime in the book.
Yeah.
That too.
Although I like all the meme ones that have gone around a lot. That one was good.
Jaime Lannister is a fugly slut.
But yeah, I know, I love that part. But then we get to the Starks ending.
Yes, the Starks ending where, they part ways for the final time. Because Sansa got her North independent because, Bran was reasonable. And also he didn't want to piss off his sister. So, But she's Queen of the North.
Yeah, I like Arya's part where she gets to go off because that had been hinted at in seasons before.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to see her go off and discover whatever else is west of Westeros.
Yep.
And then, I don't know, people keep saying all sorts of different things about what happened with Jon.
Yes, and I mean, he was named Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, which you're probably wondering, why is there a Night's Watch? To that, I love what Tyrion says about, there should be a place for bastards, cripples, and broken things.
Giving you to the Unsullied would start a war. Letting you walk free would start a war. So our new king has chosen to send you to the Night's Watch.
There's still Night's Watch.
The world will always need a home for bastards and broken men.
And, I mean, it makes Jon the 1000th commander of the Night's Watch. And Jon, after all of this, I mean, he hasn't wanted to be king. He could not have said that enough, and no one fucking listened.
Right.
And so this man has just wanted to go retire up in the north, where it's free, the place where he was the happiest, and actually felt like he was doing the most good.
I don't think he would have been happy anywhere else. Like, I know they send him up there, but I do think he would have gone up there no matter what.
He's never felt like he's belonged in Winterfell.
Well, and not only that, but I don't think he could be around those people after what happened in King's Landing, after everything he saw, and even though I don't think he has a problem with Sansa, like, I don't think he's mad at her or holding any grudges right now. He's just not that type. But I do think he just needs to get away from all of the people down there now.
Yeah.
He's just seen too much. He's been betrayed. He's just a good old boy. He doesn't want to. He's honest. He just wants to go up there and up there with the wildlings. I don't know if he'll stay gone or not, but I think he just wanted to go out there again. Whether he comes back to the Night's Watch or not.
He pet Ghost, which is major points for this episode for me. Got to be reunited with Tormund, but most importantly, we saw a single blade of grass.
Yes, the dream of spring.
The dream of spring.
It's right there.
And they end going into the same woods where the show began. And generally, I liked where it all ended up.
There were a lot of scenes that I kept saying that I wanted to see by the end.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many things, like Arya wearing Jaime's face and going in and getting Cersei and stuff like that. But I really like the way it ended better than the ones I had made up, because I don't know, I like the way she goes out.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Tyrion almost like comments on it himself, because he says, he says the thing of like, was it the right choice? Ask me again in 10 years.
Yeah, I love that part.
I love that line entirely, because, definitely 10 years can change how I feel on a show or a movie or something. But also, he mentioned how when he was getting John like saying, oh, you had to go to the Night's Watch. He said, you know, this side isn't happy, but, you know, they're willing to accept a life sentence. And then your sisters weren't happy, but they're, you know, willing to compromise. And
Yeah.
I suppose that's a good compromise where no one's happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I know it's a polarizing episode, but I found a lot to enjoy. And honestly, especially watching it a second time to prepare for this review, I just found myself getting like more and more into it.
Yeah.
Especially between like Drogon and seeing how things ended up. Because I'm glad we've moved past the feudalist monarchy and are moving into what I'm hopeful is the renaissance of Westeros.
That would be nice. I would like to think they all have a time of just peace and happiness, and the Starks calm everyone down. And
maybe they have the long spring.
exactly, that would be really nice. That's what's going to go on in my head now. Is they're going to have the long spring. I like that.
But y'all, that has been Game of Thrones.
Oh, it's all over now.
Yeah, we may go back and do ones for other episodes in the future. For the time being, you can watch our other Game of Thrones ones for this season down below. We also have some Marvel, some Star Trek. We have a Dogma All Positive review up. We have some other things coming in the pipeline, including Handmaid's Tale and some other fun stuff. But in the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, stay positive, and have a great day. Thanks.